Today we're going to learn how to create particles with numbers, to create animations like this. So let's do it. Okay, let's go to Geometry Nodes, create a new profile, and first of all, we're going to create a particle system with points and simulation job, because we want to create a point every frame. By the way, I'm going to show you 2 or 3 ways to create these animations where we have like particles with numbers. So the first one is with this setup that you will see. We want to create points every frame, so let's use join geometry. Let's create it here, and let's create a direction, a vector. I'm going to set this view and hide the grid. And I don't want to animate the points in the z-axis. I want only to animate it in all directions except the z-axis. So let's create this vector with a store name attribute. Let's select vector. Let's call this velocity, and let's use here random value. Remember, I don't want to animate it in z, so I'm going to select 0 here, in z and z, and here -1. Also, what I'm going to do is to add here a vector math with a scale, so I can control the velocity of this vector, the scale. Perfect. Let's check this. By the way, this is not going to work because we need to use here set position. So let's use set position, and let's reuse this attribute. Let's call this initial velocity, and also remember that we need to use here a time frame. So every frame we have a different vector, a random vector for every new point. Now let's reuse this attribute with name attribute. Let's select vector and copy this and paste it here and connect it in offset. And now if I press play, we have this. It's too fast, so let's decrease the scale. Something like that. Okay, so we create a particle system, and now you can see more or less what is happening. And now what we want is that instead of points, we want to use numbers. So we're going to create numbers in sequence. So from the first one until whatever you want. So instead of using points, what we're going to do is to create a text with a string to curve. Let's convert this or give a fill curve and connect it here. And if we write something here, for example, Blender, now we will see a lot of times the word Blender. And it's not moving because this is an instance. And here we have point. So let's select instance. Okay. First of all, I don't want this. Let me restart again. I want this center. Let me preview this. And I want this in the middle. So right now we have this word. And if we press play, it's creating this word, but it's applying for every letter like an instance. If you want to maintain the word like a block, what you have to do is to add here geometry to instance. So instead of using every letter like a new point, like a separately instance, now thanks to this is creating all the letters in one single instance. So we have this effect, as you can see. Okay, but we don't want that. But if you wanted to learn how to do this, now you know it. But what we want is numbers. So here we can write numbers if you want. And now we have this. If you make this, remember, we are going to have all these numbers in different points, as you can see. Okay, but I don't want that. I want to see points in sequence, like 9, 10, 11, whatever. So what we can do, instead of writing here all the numbers, is to use value to string. And now, this is the text, as you can see. If I change this, we see different numbers. So we can add keyframes here, or what you can do, if this is creating an instance, a point every frame, what we can do is to use time in frame. So the value will be that every frame will be a different number. The frame 1 will be 1. The frame 0, if you start in 0, will be 0. Let me check. Actually, I don't know why it doesn't appear. But if we press play, you can see that every frame is creating the number of the frame. Now it's happening like before, when we have more than one number, like the number 10, 11, whatever, is being split in different numbers, in different instances. So if you want to maintain the numbers together, then we need to use this, remember, to maintain all the numbers like one single number, one single instance. And now, if we press play, you can see that we have the numbers together when there is more than one value. And here we can play with the velocity if you want, and we can create this effect. It's going really fast, but we are creating all the numbers. As you can see, we are in the frame 106. So we have all the numbers here. I'm going to set this view so we can see it more white. So this is one way. If you want to slow down this, then what we can do is to decrease the number of instances that are being added in this process. How we do that? To do this, by the way, I'm going to select here creating numbers with frames. So to control the frequency of these instance numbers that are being added, we need to use here switch node. And we need to create a condition to say that every X numbers of frame add this instance or don't add anything. So to do this, we need to use a time frame, and we need to use a math node and select this one, modulo or this one. I prefer this one. And basically, any value that we select here, for example, 10, this means that every 10 frames, because we are working with frames, is going to use this instance only once. So every 10 frames is going to add a number, and between is not going to add anything. So it will be true because we don't have anything. Let's check it. Let's restart. And now if I press play, as you can see, every 10 frames is adding a number. And it's the same number like here. That's why we see 10, 40, 70, 100, etc. If you want a number every 5 frames, we select 5 frames. And now we will see numbers that finish with 0 or 5. So you understand that this is like a filter. Add numbers every X frame. Okay. Now, maybe you want to slow down the creation of numbers, but you want to maintain the order of numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So how we do that? Let's select, for example, 10. How we can say that every 10 frames, it shows the order. What we have to do then is to divide this by the same number that we add here. So let's use a math node, and you can divide this by 10. That means that every new frame will be added after 10 frames. If we press play, you can see it, that now we have the same order. So a simple trick is to maintain this number similar to this number to play with the velocity, the frequency. If you want to make this, your computer, faster, instead of dividing, what you can do is to multiply by, I think, 0.1. And in theory, it's the same. Yes, it's the same. And when your computer is using multiplication, it's faster than dividing numbers. But if you don't remember this, then use divide. Whatever you want, okay? And also, if you use divide, what you can do, you can use, for example, an integer to control this number and this one at the same time. So with this, you can maintain the velocity. For example, I want a number every 20 frames. And now we have a number every 20 frames. So this is the control of the frequency and the velocity of the frames. By the way, if you don't want to use this random animation, what you can do, for example, if I want to make this animation, but with the numbers falling in this direction or going up, instead of using random value, we can delete this and delete this. And here we can control the direction. Now we have 0, 0, so nothing happens. But if I want, for example, these numbers go down, so in this axis, in negative y, I'm going to select negative y. And look at this. Now we have this effect. All the numbers are going down in sequence. I can make it faster if I select this, increase this, as you can see. And I can do the opposite. For example, go up. Let's increase this in positive. And now the numbers are going up. You can decrease this if you want. Also here you have the velocity, remember. Actually, you can select positive or negative and play with this if you want. And if you want to make this faster, remember that you have here the frequency. Actually, let's select a normal velocity. And let's start again and select, for example, 1. Let's make faster, a bit faster. And now we have this effect, as you can see. And you can do the same in the opposite direction. -2, a bit faster. And let's see how it looks like. So as you can see, it's really easy to create these really cool animations with numbers, with the scale or random values. Okay, so now we have this animation that goes like a counter from 0 to higher, greater numbers. I'm going to give you more tips to have more control in these animations. For example, how we can do if we don't want to start in the number 0. We want to start, for example, I want to make an animation of years, and I want to start in 1990. So how can I start in this number instead of waiting from 0? This is really easy. The only thing we have to do is to go here. Let me move this a bit. We need to add after this number a math node, and the number that you select here, it will start from this number. So if I want to do animation, for example, from the year 1990, now as you can see, we start from this number. Very important, you have to add this node after this. If not, it's not going to work. And now, if I press play, I have this animation, for example, to show the pass of the time with the years. This is one tip. Another tip, maybe you want to do an animation, for example, showing that you are getting every time this value. Sorry, not this. I want to make like, one moment, I want to do like animation of every, let me think one moment. So basically what I want is to, now we have this, I want to multiply this by, let me think one moment, multiply by 10. No, multiply by 5. Okay, so let's say that I want to do an animation where I want to show how to get more points. So the only thing I want to add here is a plus or any character before or after, because can be, for example, euros, dollars, whatever you want. So to show something before or after, the only thing we have to do is to go after this, and we need to use join strings. So this node allows us, it's like the join version of join geometry, but with strings. So you need to add this here, and we have this and this. You have to connect this here, and here we need to create another string with a simple node called string, that is just a text. And let's write, for example, plus, and this is really important. If we connect this after, okay, look at this, after this value, now it will appear after, okay? So, for example, if you want to write dollars, where is the dollar? I think it's here. Now we can do it like that. Okay, but they're together. How I can give some space between the number and this character? Here is the space. If you want to give a space, just type some space, something like that. And now look at this. We have a space. So this is like the separation. Whatever you add here, you can also write something, and will be what separates one string from another. And you can add as many strings as you want. So let's leave it like before, with one space. And with this, you can create this animation, like earning money. Or if you want before, so here, then you need to add this wire before this value. So now is before, as you can see. For example, we can do this animation where we earn points or knowledge. Every time that you watch one of my tutorials, you are earning points of knowledge. So this is another tip that you can apply in your text animations. Okay, now I'm going to show you, to finish the tutorial, how to do a countdown, how to make a counter that decreases the numbers, the animation. So to do this, what we're going to do, for now I'm going to delete the characters because we don't need it. By the way, you will have all the project files of this tutorial. So you will have like 2 or 3 different project files with different animations on my Patreon. So don't worry, if you want to download them, you can get them on my Patreon. And remember, you have more than 100 project files. So to do a countdown, the only thing we have to do is to use a map range. Actually, we can delete this, and I'm going to show you why. Because the map range node is really powerful. So remember, now I'm going to delete this. We have a frequency of 20. That means that every 20 frames is showing a number. And if we press play, we have this. The first thing that we can notice is that only shows maximum 1. Why? Because we have this activate. So first of all, you need to disable this, because this is to limit the number to 1. And now if we press play, it's showing the real sync time. So every 20 frames is showing the number that we have here, as you can see. Okay, now how we can make to this match the real time. So instead of having a jump of 20 frames, it follows like 0, 1, 2, 3. This number is how many numbers is jumping. So this is like the node of multiply and divide that we used before. So if I select 20, what I'm saying is that every frame will be like divided between 20. That means that every frame, every 20 frames, right, we will have a number, but if we divide it by the same number, then we have the same order. Perfect. Okay. Actually, you can notice something. This number is the same like this one. So why don't we connect this here? So with this control, we can control the frequency and always will follow the sequence, as you can see. So I can make it faster or slower. Let me start again, and you see that it works. Okay, let's leave it in 20. Now the question, but how we do that to reverse it? Easy peasy. The only thing you have to do is to change these values. This means that it's positive, but if I select 1 and 0, we are changing the map range, the range. We are making like an inversion. And now, if I press play, it will start in 1, and it decreases. 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. As you can see, now we have a countdown. Okay, perfect. And how I do if I want to start, for example, in the number 100? Then the only thing we have to do is to use, like before, a math node and select a value, for example, 100. And now, if I press play, it's doing this animation. Okay, maybe it starts in this number because I start at the frame 0. You can start at the frame 1 if you want, or if not, if you have problems, then just decrease one number here. So if we start this number, then select 99. And now it's going to work. We have a countdown that goes from 100 to any value that we are going to stop. So that's the way. And remember, if you want to jump more numbers, then here, sorry, I didn't say it, this is how many numbers you want to jump. So now it's respecting this frequency, but this is how many numbers is decreasing. One number, every value. But if I want to decrease 10 numbers, then I'm going to select 10. Let's select, for example, so 90. Yes, you need to add this to get this value, okay? But now, this will be the number that is going to subtract. It's like the step. How many numbers you want to jump? Before was 1, 1, 1. Now is 10, 10, 10. Let's check it. 90, 80, 70. So with this, you have more control to reverse the counter and to say how many numbers you want to jump. If you want to jump more, then increase this number. And this is how to do a countdown. So I hope you like this video and you learn a lot of new tricks. If you like this video, please give a like. Remember to subscribe if you are not. And remember, you can download this project and many more on my Patreon. And see you in the next tutorial.